Welcome back to Tyria, fellow hunters, warriors, and heroes. On this channel, I discuss the factions that design and build the worlds we experience in our games, movies, and stories. If you're interested in seeing more of that, hit subscribe. I've spent some time discussing the factions that have helped develop the science and technology of the world. Today, I talk about the Norn, the most valiant hunters, the bravest warriors, and the greatest drinkers Tyria has ever seen. As a warning, this video contains spoilers for the story of Guild Wars 2. Alright, let's get into it. The frozen Shiver Peak Mountains between Kryta and Ascalon have long been home to the Norn, a race of giants who have plied the frigid lands for many ages. Hailing originally from the far Shiver Peaks in the far north, various calamities and conflicts drove them down into the central mountain range. The Norn had remained secluded from the rest of Tyria until just after the Searing. Their lands were discovered following an encounter in the depths of Tyria around the time of Primordus' Second Awakening. A band of heroes were chased through ruined dwarven halls by destroyers and made their way out into the frozen north. They were greeted by the Norn and spent some time among them, learning their ways and helping them to fight their own enemies. The Norn had established many settlements and fortifications in the far north, near the place we now know to be the Eye of the North. Built long ago by parties unknown, the Eye became a focal point for heroic tales and legends. The Norn themselves are much taller than humans. Standing around 9 feet tall, they worship the spirits of the land and have developed a robust culture around hunting, fighting, and drinking. The Norn are survivors. At home in the harshest conditions, their physical strength and fortitude is unmatched, though it takes a lot of training to become a hero among heroes. That training starts early. No Norn alive today will not tell stories of their first hunt, the one that turned them into the mighty warrior they've become. The Norn capital city is Holbrecht, nestled among the high cliffs and mountains in the central Shiver Peaks. I'll discuss more about the city later in the video, as all Norn will find their way here a little later in their journey. Norn who come of age in their homelands will begin their training in the valley below Holbrecht, in the Wayfarer foothills. They must first prove their worth by completing a hunt. The Borealis forest is teeming with life, and many great beasts stalk the land. A young hunter must choose their prey wisely. The mighty alpine minotaur is strong and wild, bucking and kicking at any who come near. The hunter will have to avoid the powerful hooves and horns to slay the creature. The quick owl griffin uses its wings to evade attacks, striking strategically. A hunter wishing to best the creature must be patient and learn to strike when the time is right. And the dire boar will charge anyone who gets too close. The aspiring hunter will have to select the right place from which to strike to avoid its rending tusks. The aspirant who succeeds may claim a trophy from the slain creature and must present this to the master of the hunt. Their victory is short-lived though, because the great hunt is not yet done. They will be directed to await with other newly fledged hunters near the gate to Hangrimer Climb, near the arena and pens. Preparations are being made, and they may have some time to test themselves against the fighting creatures kept there. After testing their skills, the gates will open, and Eir, the hero of many legends, will call to them. Eir Stegalkin will lead the final leg of the hunt. She and the other aspirants must climb the mountain and enter the domain of Isomir, the Great Worm. Isomir and her brood have been a bane to the Norn, and it's time for that to end. The fight will be difficult, and the young hunters must learn to evade her attacks and strike cleanly. All of their training so far will see them to victory. With Isomir defeated, the new hunter will be named the Slayer of Isomir, a title worthy of much renown in the lands of the Norn. Thus will their journey begin. Many long roads lie ahead, but with strength and courage, a new hunter will face the challenges before them and overcome any enemy that stands in their way. The Norn respect honor in combat, and honor for the ancient beings and traditions that have shaped them. They come together to boast of their feats and tell tales of great victories to inspire others to rise up and seek glory. These values are embodied by the tradition of hunting enemies of all kinds, showing strength and leadership and coming home bruised, but with a new tale to add to their saga. A Norn hunter might track beasts through the wild as they were trained to do, or choose to hunt other monsters that trouble the lands, from ancient spirits to angry gods. Those who have found the greatest glory have paid a heavy price for it. With a great reverence for their collective past and a love of story, they adorn their dwellings with intricate carvings of legends and tales. Gilt and sparkling, they spend much time and effort to preserve and pass on their cultural legacy. Among the greatest artists of their people, Eir Stegalkin spends time between hunts carving statues from stone. Her work can be found across the Shiver Peaks and include monuments to lost friends, battles fought long ago, and heroes of her people. The Norn also value vitality and fortitude, attributes best expressed not in contests of steel or strength of arm, but by outdrinking one another. A Norn can drain barrels of ale in a sitting, and those who wish to make a contest of it will aim to be the last one standing, or to complete some challenge while drunk faster than a rival. They drink to celebrate, they drink to mourn, they drink and feast to outboast one another. Their drink of choice seems to be a strong ale, or mead perhaps, brewed by skilled masters of the craft. They've turned drunkenness into an art form. In fact, they've made a game of it in the form of Belcher's Bluff, wherein two opponents must outdrink one another. To win, you have to trick your opponent into becoming more drunk than you by boasting, belching at them to reduce their vitality, and faking a drink here or there by taking water or an empty cup. The winner claims glory, and no one has to fight, even if they wake up feeling as if they'd been struck by the fist of a god. And speaking of gods, the world is filled with gods and spirits of many shapes and kinds. As all things on Tyria are filled with magic, so do all things have spirits that watch over them. The spirits of the wild keep watch and balance over the forces of nature. They tend to the land and respect those who in turn respect the beings and powers in their care. These spirits take the form of beasts and offer gifts of power to suitable supplicants. The Norn revere these spirits, and their shamans pay heed to them. Holbrook is blessed by them, and the Norn who live and hunt there know them well. Monuments to these spirits adorn the various lodges within the city, and their shrines can be found throughout the territory of the Norn people. The four spirits most revered by the Norn are the Wolf Spirit, the Raven Spirit, Bear Spirit, and Snow Leopard Spirit. These are representative of the characteristics that most define the Norn and around which much of their culture revolves. Among the many blessings bestowed upon the Norn is the ability to shapeshift, each into a form like the spirit's own. A Norn who chooses to take on the form of one of these creatures will gain powers and abilities representative of their shape. Snow Leopard is quick and stealthy, raking at foes with sharp claws and gaining great speed. They can use the shadows to their advantage and camouflage themselves. The Raven form bestows the ability to shriek loudly, stir up the wind with their wings, and swoop in quickly to slash at vital areas. The Wolf form grants strength. Norn in this form can leap and slash at their enemies. They can howl in anger and rage to strike fear into their foes or to bolster their own defenses. And the form most closely associated with the Norn in a cultural way is the Bear, granting toughness and vitality and giving the warrior the ability to slash, charge, and maul anyone standing in their way. It's perhaps worth exploring the connection between the Norn and the spirit of the bear. To those who know their history, most famously the tale of Svanir has grown the renown of such tales. Svanir was the brother of the Norn hero Jorah, who grew into the form of a mighty bear and was cursed by the dragon Jormag. His sister was forced to hunt him down and slay him in the end with the help of some outsiders. From Svanir came the infamous Sons of Svanir, a group of Norn who revere the dragon Jormag and who cause trouble in the frozen north. They'll go on to take part in events described later in the story. While the tale of Svanir is well known among the Norn, the connection to the spirit of bear goes back much further than that, and may suggest that there is some truth in the telling of Codan legends of the Norn people. Though this tale, like so many others, may simply have grown in the telling. None can know the truth of the matter at this time. As all places have their unique characteristics, so do other lands have their own spirits to care for the beings who live there. Throughout the world of Tyria and the lands beyond, Norn shamans recognize and communicate with these spirits too. The Norn have cultivated a strong relationship to the spirits of the land, both close to home and in faraway places. Their shamans keep the ancient legends alive and channel the powers given to them by these beings. They are the storytellers, and while they work to maintain the delicate balance between the spirits and the people, they record and pass down the history of their own past as well. None know for sure how old the Norn as a race are, though there are legends and stories about their ancient past. It's believed by some Codan that the Norn were once Codan themselves, who defied the will of Coda and went south in search of prey to hunt. The Norn themselves tell stories that might dispute this. Their legends have it that their ability to shapeshift was given to them by the bear spirit, which would put them at odds with the timing of the Dragonstorm and Coda's decrees. Jotun legends would have it that the Jotun and Norn ruled the Shiver Peaks together before some event caused them to split. The Norn then called on the aid of the spirits of the wild to aid their growth and development. Regardless of their origin, their culture has expanded and developed for a long time. They've been defending their lands against incursions and threats for centuries. During the time of the Searing, they held back Char incursions, and in so doing gained the Char's respect. Then came the rising of Jormag in the far Shiver Peaks. He'd secured his champion in Svanir, having changed him into a powerful ice bear, and soon others rallied to the dragon's call. A cult of sorts formed around the Whispers of Jormag, and so were born the Sons of Svanir. Their goal has been to destroy the spirits of the wild, who they see as weak, and replace them with Jormag himself. When Jormag finally broke free from his long sleep, his power was unleashed, and with it he created the Ice Brood, creatures empowered by corrupted frost and crystals of ice, many of whom still roam the Shiver Peaks to this day. The Sons have always been a thorn in the side of their people. They're violent and elitist. They don't allow women to join their ranks as they believe them unworthy. This is an inversion of norms in Norn society where one's gender doesn't really matter, only their deeds. The Norn attempted to hold their lands against the dragon and his minions, but in the end, they couldn't. Calling on the spirits of the wild to guide them, they traveled south, where they made their home among the lands long ago abandoned by the dwarves. Norn lands are dotted with ancient dwarf ruins and monuments. Scholars still unearth lost treasures and knowledge left behind after the rite of the Great Dwarf. There are also many Coden settlements in Norn territory. While there's no true alliance between the two people, there's no animosity either. The Norn have built many settlements and fortifications in their new home, though there was a time when this grand vision might have seemed like a distant dream. A hero of the Norn, Asagir, was alive during Jormag's rise and is the grandfather of Newt Whitebear, current Norn elder and defender of Holbrook and its surroundings. He led the fight against Jormag's servant, personally slaying the greatest of the dragon's minions and organizing a hunt for the dragon himself. His hunt was not entirely successful, though he managed to rend from Jormag a massive fang, or perhaps a piece of horn. Asagir, with the help of the spirits of the wild, then led his people south and founded the settlement of Holbrook and the lodge. Jormag's fang is suspended by massive chains from the ceiling of the lodge today and cannot be harmed but by those with the powers of prophecy behind them. Only when the fang has been dealt a blow that causes damage will it be time to hunt Jormag once again. The fang has remained undamaged for centuries since. As ought to be obvious by this point, so much of the character of the modern Norn culture has been affected by the events surrounding the rise of Jormag. These events shaped so much of modern Tyria as well, bringing the Asura to the surface, being the catalyst for the rite of the Great Dwarf and the disappearance of the dwarves from the lands above, and introducing the wider world to the culture of the Norn, as it was before they were driven south. Jormag had begun to stir in the years prior to these events. Having been trapped in the depths for so long, the dragon cycle was nearing the time of awakening. The Asur had been using his ambient magic to power their gates and portals. The flow of magic was now becoming unstable as the dragon began to wake. Earthquakes had begun to appear across Tyria, and many of its heroes will be called to investigate the matter. They would find themselves face to face with Ogden Stonehealer, a dwarf who lives on to this day and is among the last of his people, keeping the history of the dwarves alive above ground. This, however, was a time before the rite of the Great Dwarf, when the wider world had little knowledge about the depths. The expedition descended underground through ancient passages to the Asuran Central Transfer Hub, where the destroyers had begun to arise. The expedition was forced to flee through collapsing chambers and caverns, pursued by destroyers until they reached a working gate that took them to Boreal Station in the far Shiver Peaks. The Asura, Vek, destroyed the gate to prevent their enemies catching up, though now the heroes were stranded in a place far from home. They were greeted first by Jorah, who we know today as a hero among the people of Tyria, among the Norn. We learn that even here, the presence of Jormag has been causing trouble. Jorah's brother, Svanir, has been changed and corrupted by the dragon's magic, having risen as its new champion. Among the many settlements and holdings of the Norn at that time, the Hall of Monuments in the Eye of the North stood above the surrounding cliffs. It's recently been rediscovered, though much of it has been ruined and fallen into disrepair. It now serves as a place of refuge among the far Shiver Peaks for adventures further north. More recent events chronicled in the sagas of the Norn have engraved their legends in the history and society of the world at large. The events surrounding the rise of Mordremoth in the Maguma jungles led to the most challenging task yet faced by the Pact. Initial forays into those lands being led by Erstigalkin herself. These forays led to her heroic last stand against the terrors that dwell there, prompting her son, Bram, to carry her memory through the telling of his own legends. Aer had been training young hunters and carving the history of Tyria into stone for so long that her work and legacy has forever changed the history, not only of the Norn, but of the world. Bram went on to fulfill the ancient prophecy of Esagir by using ancient Jotun knowledge to enchant his mother's bow. With it, he was able, after over 200 years, to damage the tooth of Jormag. Because it was widely believed among the Norn that if none could harm the tooth itself, there would be no chance of defeating the dragon, this event sparked hope among the Norn. It led to the events surrounding the arrival of Central Tyrian forces in the Crystal Desert, and eventually the rise and defeat of the god Abaddon. Later, it also led to the expedition to the Blood Legion homelands and further travel to the far Shiver Peaks. The heroes of Tyria must traverse lands long ago abandoned by the Norn to chase the corrupted dragon champions through the mountains. After overwhelming challenges, many defeats, friends lost, and worlds forever changed, the combined forces of Tyria overcame the dragon's power, and Jormag was finally silenced. Though his cult seems to live on in the Sons of Svanir, dragon magic is unpredictable. The Norn are an ancient race. None know for certain how long they've lived on Tyria, but their legends and history delve into the distant past. Their migration and settlement of the central Shiver Peaks has opened their culture to travelers and settlers from other lands, and through trade and cultural exchange, they've become an integral part of Tyria's history. They might not have been responsible for great developments in technology like the Char or Asura, but they've integrated many of these new objects and ideas into their own lives. They've proven themselves highly adaptable warriors, traders, builders, and scholars. Their own culture has changed the way the peoples of Tyria live and fight as well. Many Norn have risen to perform world-changing acts of heroism, venturing into distant lands to help face world-ending threats. Their fortifications have been proof against many enemies that threaten their people, and their courage has seen the end of foes before thought invincible. Their communion with the spirits of the land has helped to keep Tyria safe from corruption, and their use of magic has seen the balance between good and evil kept safe, relatively speaking. The Norn fight and drink and hunt the lands, but always with respect to the needs of the world around them, and for that, Tyria is kept safe from enemies both visible and unseen. So we raise a mug to their strength, their courage, and their legendary fortitude. Cheers, Tyria. The Norn haven't changed the world with technology and science. They've done it with strength, courage, and cunning. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate everyone who does, especially if you stick around to the end. If you like the video, please hit like. And if you want your likeness carved in stone to adorn the great halls of Holbreck, hit subscribe. If you want to discuss the mighty Norn, or if you think I missed anything, let me know in the comments down below. Oh, and before you go, I want to give a shout out to my patrons who help support the channel. Our $10 patron is Washuki at the artisan level. If you want to get your name in the credits, head on over and sign up. The Patreon link is in the description. You'll get access to an exclusive Discord and some exclusive art and stories that you can use or discuss and contribute to. And remember, if your hunt is going poorly, it doesn't mean you're a bad hunter. It just means you should choose dumber prey next time. Thank you all. Bye, Internet.